Sawadee Khap, I'm JP Mestanza. Welcome to Phuket Extra, brought to you by PVCPhuket.com. A campaign is now being launched in Phuket to encourage non-Phuket natives to change their registered address to Phuket in order to boost budgets approved to improve the island's infrastructure. The central government in Bangkok allocates money to each province based on the population, and for decades, this has been an issue here in Phuket as there are a relatively small number of people registered as living in Phuket compared with the number of Thais actually living on the island to work. Phuket Governor Narong Wuncheo called for the change at a meeting in Phuket Provincial Hall and explained that it's important to get an accurate count of how many people live in Phuket. And if everyone would change their registered address to Phuket, then it would boost the amount of money sent to the island from the central government in Bangkok to carry out local infrastructure projects on the island, which could mean more services or more roads. A campaign is now underway to get the word out to Thai nationals to register as living in Phuket, and they're starting by targeting local government officials and civil servants. At the moment, Phuket has about 8,950 officials posted in Phuket, but only 6,500 of them are registered on the island. This is just a small example of how the difference in Phuket's actual population numbers has resulted in much smaller budgets being allocated for infrastructure projects to serve a much larger population than intended on paper. Also of note, once a Thai has changed their registered address to another province, they lose their voting rights in their home province. For more, visit thephuketnews.com. Unprecedented comments by His Majesty the King yesterday as he called Thailand the land of compromise in a rare, brief interview with a reporter from Britain's Channel 4. During a display of royal devotion by thousands wearing yellow shirts near the Grand Palace yesterday, His Majesty the King Mahavajiralongkorn and Her Majesty Queen Sutira walked around to greet supporters when a reporter from Britain's Channel 4 asked him about the protests. And at first, saying no comment, he said then 3 times, "We love them all the same," and then said, "Thailand is the land of compromise," before being whisked away by his daughter and the Queen. Meanwhile, breaking news today as French expat Jan Marshall, a political commentator, he's now being told he's being deported by Thailand immigration over his Facebook posts covering the ongoing political conflict and protests. In other protest news, 3 detained protest leaders who were briefly released on Friday only to be detained by plainclothes officers and allegedly harassed on their way to another police station, including broken windows in the van that 2 of them were being taken into. Well, they've been in the hospital over the weekend recovering from injuries reportedly sustained while en route to another detention center on Friday night. Protest leader Rung, who had been facing violations related to June rallies in Patong district in Bangkok, well, her detainment request was dropped by Patong court earlier today while she was at the hospital with police guards. At last report, it's still unknown if the detention requests for Patong Mike Jaknog and Parit Penguin Chiwarak will be accepted. For more, visit thephuketnews.com. Police have assigned a high-security detail to ensure that the visit by Phuket Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha and cabinet ministers will be unaffected by any major disruptions or rallies while here in Phuket. The Prime Minister arrived earlier today, shortly after 2 p.m., after a similar meeting in Koh Samui, and upon landing at the Phuket International Airport, he inspected the screening measures for foreign tourists. Currently, no inbound commercial flights carrying international passengers are allowed to land at Phuket Airport. The Premier would later go to scheduled meetings with business operators on the island's economic recovery efforts. Tuesday's mobile cabinet meeting in Phuket will take place in Macau reportedly, but they're also expected to visit Phuket Old Town and speak with local residents before leaving later this week. Meanwhile, it's still unknown if Phuket will have a mass anti-government rally during the Prime Minister's visit, after one of the key organizers of the anti-government protests held in Phuket so far told the Phuket News last week that it was too early to confirm. But Phuket Provincial Police Deputy Commander Colonel Arayapan Pukbungkao said, quote, "I am not worried about protests. I think they won't do it. If there are any large gatherings, we have the correct procedures to handle any situation peacefully through talks without anyone being harmed." Phuket so far has seen 2 rallies, including one in Suan Luang Park in Phuket town about 2 weeks ago, where about 700 people showed up. For more, visit thephuket.news.com. Phuket is welcoming 2 new vice governors who have just been confirmed by officials and arrived on the island over the weekend to begin their duties. Vice Governor Piapong Chuwang arrived after having previously served as the director of the Office of Law in Bangkok, while Vice Governor Vikram Jakti was promoted to the position after serving as Chief Administrative Officer, or Palad, of Phuket Provincial Office, involved in officers' drug raids across the island earlier this year. Meanwhile, for the first time since the coup 6 years ago, local government elections will take place nationwide, and today was the opening of registrations for candidates for chairman and members of the PAO, the provincial administrative organizations known locally as Obojo, in all 76 provinces of Thailand, with applications closing on November 6th. The elections will take place nationwide on December 20th. The Phuket Provincial Waterworks Authority will wait until the Phuket Carnival in Patong has concluded before starting works that will leave parts of Patong and Karon without mains water supply throughout each day for a week. The PWA has announced that the mains water supply will be shut off in parts of Karon and Patong from November 9th to November 17th, as repairs are made to a mains pipe connected to the reverse osmosis plant north of Karon Beach. Water supply to unspecified areas in Patong and Karon will be affected, with water pressure falling to low levels, which may result in some locations having no mains water supply at all from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. between November 9th to November 17th. We'll update you later on that. For more, visit thephuket.news.com. 3 new COVID-19 cases on Thailand today, all of them recent arrivals from abroad, including 2 Thai women and a Kenyan woman who arrived from the UAE. All were found infected while in quarantine. The total number of cases is now 3,787, with 94% of patients total recovered and the death toll unchanged at 59. Thanks for joining us in today's edition of Phuket Extra, brought to you by pvcphuket.com. For safe, secure, and soundproof windows, visit pvcphuket.com. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, stay classy, Phuket.